I've walked through a lot of strangers' homes over the years, but today was the first time that I walked into one and immediately recognized the stories behind the things inside. The house belonged to Tim, and if you grew up in Lebanon, chances are you've crossed paths with him at least once. I first met him over 8 years ago when I had just moved to Lebanon and was working as a waitress. At the time, I was out of a place to call home while working multiple jobs and doing everything I could just to build a life for myself. I felt really lost and wasn't really sure where I was heading, but he would come in every single day, no matter what kind of day it was. He always had a bright smile on and would leave me $1 and tell me he would see me again tomorrow. He always had a story to tell to make the day just a little bit better. No matter where life seemed to take me, Tim always seemed to find me again. When I became the general manager at another restaurant in town, he started coming there for lunch, and later when I left the restaurant industry completely and focused on growing sponsori finds, we'd still run into each other in town and he'd ask how I was doing. If you knew Tim, you knew he was always out walking, stopping in the shops, and talking to everyone in the streets. One of my favorite memories was seeing him walk through the door on grand opening day of my storefront. I hadn't seen him in almost a year, and when we both realized at the same time who the other person was, from then on, he just became one of our regulars. Sometimes I would see him several times a week, and sometimes I saw him every day, if not multiple times a day. He always came into the shop bearing gifts, a little trinket that he found, or something weird, something funny that he thought that I would like. It was just who he was, and he loved sharing those things with people, and he never seemed to show up empty-handed, or leave empty-handed for that matter. He also never showed up short on stories. Tim grew up through the 70s and had some of the craziest stories that I think I have ever heard. I could sit for hours in the store and just listen to him tell me them. They were the kind of stories that had you laughing so hard you weren't entirely sure if they were true. Half the time I just thought he was making them up. Walking through his home today was bittersweet because I kept seeing things I remembered him talking about over the years. At one point I started laughing because I had found the famous pink bedroom. For years I thought that was just another one of Tim's stories. It turns out it wasn't. His house felt exactly like him. Every room was full of collections, pottery, artwork, treasures, dinosaurs, frogs, turtles, and all the things that caught his attention over the years. He truly collected anything and everything, and what struck me the most was seeing other people walk through his home and admire the things that he loved, the pottery he made, the collections he spent years building, the little treasures that made up his world. While walking through the sale, I realized that so many of the things around me weren't just things. They were his stories, and if you knew Tim, he had plenty of those. I'm so grateful to everyone who put this sale together because they did an absolutely incredible job showcasing everything and who he was as a collector and a person. Walking through this house today felt a little like getting to hear one last round of Tim's stories. I laughed more than cried, which honestly feels pretty fitting for Tim, and he truly was a great guy, and I'm so grateful that I have had the opportunity to know him.